Scoopy Radio with the incomparable Yo Adrian.
Yo, what's good?
Working my tail off. What about you?
Oh man, I'm out here in this beautiful environment, getting ready to play some golf for a great cause. Man, you know, life is good. Life is good. And, you know, with my castmates, this is going to be a great day.
I got questions.
You got questions? I hope I have answers.
So, I grew up watching Bel-Air. I did a thesis in college on the cultural studies perspective where I analyzed black men using Uncle Phil, who made it, Will, who was able to code switch, Jazz, who was Jazz, and Jeffrey, who was British. And the thing that stood out to me about your character was that Uncle Phil was less Yamacraw and more just L.A. Was that a conscious decision on your part or more the script writers?
Definitely the script writers. I mean, when you say he was less Yamacraw, what did you mean by that?
Well, I think that Uncle Phil code switched in his own way. You knew that he came from the South, moved to Baltimore, but then went to Princeton.
Right.
To me, he was less country, less Ivy League, more
Bel-Air.
of a brother that was in Bel-Air.
Right.
Was that more keeping up with the times, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, obviously we have our the Alpha fraternity in there, and I think that you know, in episode 3, season 1, we really showed a little bit more of his his past with his brothers and the Yamacraw that he is. You know, the core of who he is, which is Yamacraw. We got to expose that, express that more. But you know. It's something that we touch on throughout the show here and there, but it's not a gear that he stays in on a regular because he's got things to do and he's got to stay in that Bel-Air lane and with the family and politics and all the stuff he's got going on with the firm. So, but I think he does a good job of balancing the two up.
How much do you think, because it's more of a life drama versus a comedy, that I think you guys are looked at, it's a spinoff, but it's a new version of it. Do you think the fact that it's more serious and less of the comedy, that it's also looked at a bit differently?
Yeah, I think that people can relate to it a lot more because we are able to, to really touch on issues that, they were only able to kind of gloss over in the sitcom because it's a half-hour sitcom. It's a comedy, right? Where our show, we're able to peel back the layers of the onion more and really get to the root, and it just makes it more relatable and people. It answers a lot of questions. I find it's like therapeutic, It's like food for the soul. And a lot of people say that, there's no other show like that on television. So I'm very proud of the fact that all the characters are very valuable and important to the culture and to the community. And again, for me, it's been a blessing and it's just a dream to be given this assignment, It's such an iconic character, and I'm happy that it's been so well received. And by God's grace, we have many more seasons ahead of us.
James Avery, the character who played the original Uncle Phil, is no longer with us. And I've learned that a lot of people that were on the show kind of consulted with their character. Who did you draw inspiration from or who did you speak to about that character because he's no longer here?
That's a good question. I really wish that Mr. Avery was still with us. For me, when I was working on the character, Barack Obama was an inspiration to me because, he is like our, beloved, black excellence. Him and Michelle and their family, they are like our modern day Banks family without Carlton. All we need is a dog, But I drew from him and just how inspiring he's been to all of us as not only a great politician, but a man, a husband, a father, and just a leader, And so he really helped me kind of shape this version of Philip Banks, and it's been great.
I asked one of your character mates about the point of emphasis, or at what point you watched Will or watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, just like you might ask someone when they fell in love with basketball or hip-hop. What's your story, and who did you relate to on the show growing up?
Oh, man, I watched it in real time, and obviously, Will was a character that I really, out of all the characters on the show, I his fashion and just, the music and the dance moves. Definitely more Will than Carlton on the dance moves. And from then on, I've just followed Will in his career as a mega movie star, and I've always just been so inspired by him and just his story and how he was able to make that transition from a TV star to a movie star. And a lot of times when I had auditions, I would think, how would Will do this? I want to put my Will Smith on this. I just really admired his confidence, his poise, his coolness, his suave, his swag. He's just very, very admirable in all that he's done, and he's been a hero. He's been a hero to me. So I've always wanted to work with him. So to work for him, hey, I'll take that too.
No, that's dope. Couple more questions.
Yeah.
For me, I think of certain characters that were on the original show and how they would or would not translate. Dr. No to me is a guy that would transfer over. Who are some of the other characters that you remember from the show that you would think in your mind, oh, they might translate and we haven't seen them yet?
I can't think of any others, really. You got any others?
Dr. No comes to my knees. That's the one that Richard Roundtree was in, and he wanted to date his daughter.
Oh, that's right. Richard Roundtree. Yeah. I mean, that probably wouldn't work.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
Code switching.
Yeah.
I feel like it was talked about in the 90s, but I think over time, it's just become a norm.
Absolutely.
Do you think that code switching on Bel-Air now is more just natural and understood versus back then it was such a concept into the 90s to a national audience that may not have understood it?
Yeah, I think now code switching is you just do it, it's just involuntarily, you know what I mean? You just know when you got to navigate in that way, depending on your environment and your surroundings. So, yeah, I think it's just the norm now.
I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, man. Scoop.
Brother.
All right. Thank you. Well.
You as well.